Welcome, my dear students, to today's session. Mr. Kiruki. My presentation today is biology class for the year 10 students, IGCSE students. So our topic is living organisms in the environment. And today we'll be discussing our subtopic is ecological pyramids. We'll be able to discuss how ecological pyramids are constructed, their uses, types, and the numbers. Welcome to the session. By the end of the lesson, should be able to identify and construct food chains, food webs, pyramid of numbers, biomass, and pyramids of energy. So those are the main objectives that will be expected to be able to handle by the end of the lesson. Ecological pyramids can be defined as a simplified pictorial representation of feeding, relationship, and energy flow in an ecosystem. So these are simplified pictorial representation of how feeding relationships occur within an ecosystem. Now, we use ecological pyramids in comparing different ecosystems, whereby they are able to show the different variations in seasonal variations and also changes in the components of any particular ecosystem. So once you construct the pyramids, you can be able now to compare the seasonal variations and also the different components of an ecosystem that keep on changing from time to time. We have different types of ecological pyramids, which can be highlighted as one. We have referred to as the pyramid of numbers, pyramid of biomass, and the pyramid of energy. Now, as the name suggests, each of those is based on particular factors. The first one, pyramid of numbers, is actually based on the numbers of organisms. Pyramid of biomass, based on the dry weight of different organisms. And also pyramid of energy is actually constructed based on the amount of energy in a given trophic level. And the number of organisms in the food chain is also shown as a pyramid. The area of each block in the pyramid represents the number of organisms in each trophic level. Now, what each trophic level is actually the feeding level. So what we're talking about different trophic levels, we imply different feeding levels in the ecosystem. So the pyramid shape is obtained because there is less energy available as you move up the trophic level, and therefore few organisms are present at each particular level. We'll be seeing later how to get that kind of shape. Many organisms feed at more than one trophic level. That's very possible. So although we are saying that we have different trophic levels, we have primary consumers, producers, tertiary, and all those. You may have an organism that's actually feeding at those different levels. For example, man can be classified as a primary consumer. When you feed on plant material like vegetables, you're a primary consumer. Now, when you take milk, drink meat, or even take eggs, you actually qualify to be a secondary consumer. So you are no longer a primary consumer, but a secondary consumer. So you have trophic level changes from primary to secondary level. When you drink, maybe when you also feed on something like a fish, which is also predatory, like the salmon, then you are no longer a secondary consumer, but you are classified as a tertiary consumer. So a trophic level is the position an organism occupies in a food chain, a food web, or a pyramid of biomass, numbers, or even energy. So that position, the level, is what we're referring to as our trophic level. Now we have a representation of a food chain, simplified food chain, that can be used to explain a few things. So we remember the solar energy, the source of energy in the ecosystem is actually the sun. So this energy is taken by the plants, which are the primary producers. They convert sunlight energy into stored energy through the process of photosynthesis. Now between light energy being taken by the plants, there is that conversion of sunlight energy to food materials that are rich in energy. Then the producers can also be consumed. They can be fed on by primary consumers. For example, a caterpillar feeding on grass. So this becomes a second trophic level, the first trophic level. And then the caterpillar can be fed by another organism, which becomes a secondary consumer, in this case, a bird, which is our third trophic level, which can further be fed by possibly a fourth trophic level, which is a tertiary consumer, maybe a predatory bird like the eagle can feed on that. So if you look at that arrangement, this is a simplified food chain. But again, what we have is different levels of feeding levels. So we have the first trophic level, second, third, and fourth. Now, in terms of feeding levels, we have the producer, primary consumer, secondary consumer, and the tertiary consumer. So those are the different types of levels that we have. Now, at the end of any food chain, we normally have the last base, which is mainly composed of decomposers. These are the decomposers, which are actually the bacteria and the fungi. That means after all the energy has flowed into the ecosystem, the final consumer may end up dying in the process, decomposition occurs, and nutrients are recycled. Remember also, between each successive level, there is some loss of energy, depicted by the red line. So we lose energy, implying that the amount of energy being transmitted from one level to the other one becomes smaller, or it becomes reduces. So if you also look at the numbers will also change. The body sizes will also vary depending on the trophic level that you're dealing with. We now look at the pyramid of numbers. This is a statistical representation of the population of organisms at each trophic level in a habitat, usually in the form of a pyramid-shaped histogram. When the numbers are drawn to scale, the above full relationship produces a pyramid-shaped histogram or a pictogram, which is referred to as a pyramid of numbers. Now we need to look at the way of construction. How do you construct a pyramid of numbers? Now there are a few steps that you need to undertake. Number one, you need to use the data that is collected. You either collect your data or you are provided with the data. Number two, from the data provided, then you need to draw the most suitable food chain, indicating the number of organisms at each trophic level. For example, you could be given a food chain in an ecosystem that has microscopic algae, mosquito larvae, small fish, large fish, and the crocodiles. So if you look at this ecosystem, we have the largest number, 1,200 microscopic algae. The mosquito larvae is around 8,900. Small fish, 3,500. Large fish, 950. And of course, the crocodiles, they are 900. So essentially 100. So these are the actual numbers. The actual numbers that have been obtained in that particular ecosystem. So from this, you can now come up with a food chain. A food chain means microscopic algae in this case is our producer, which is being fed on by the mosquito larvae. The mosquito larvae being fed by small fish being fed on by large fish, and finally by crocodiles. So first trophic level like that up to the tertiary level. Now step number 3, you need to choose a suitable scale for the data. You may decide, for example, 1 centimeter to represent 1 centimeter to represent 1,000 organisms. So you're looking at 1 centimeter to represent 1,000 organisms. So in this case, that scale should correspond to the population or the numbers that you have. Then using the chosen scale, you need to draw horizontal or rectangular bars that will correspond to the numbers of organisms within with the producers at base. Now progressively you draw horizontal bars of the other organic levels as in ascending manner. Now ensuring that the width of the bars remains the same. So if this is our food chain that will be provided, we imply that if this was 12,000, then 1 centimeter here will represent 1,000 organisms, and we have 12,000. That implies that we would have a scale that will represent 1 centimeter would actually represent 12,000 divided by 1,000. So that means 12 centimeters. So you'll have to draw at the base, you would have to draw a base, a rectangular base with a length equivalent to 12 centimeters. Then successfully you go for the other one, which is 8,900. That would give you something else close to that, 8.9. centimeters. This will give you 3.5. The other one will give you, the 1,000 should be give you around something close to that. And then the other one will give you something close to that. So if you look at the final outcome, this is 12,000, this is 8,900, 3,500, this is 950, that's 100. Now this now gives you what we refer to as a pyramid of numbers. We're using the numbers to give us the corresponding figures. So if you get that outline and to give you something that's actually a pyramid-shaped histogram. So that gives you the clear picture of what we are really dealing with. This is another example that can give you the population. The numbers are higher at the bottom. As you move up the levels, producers, consumers, all the way tertiary. So we are supposed to maintain the width. So the width of this particular rectangle should always be uniform to all those particular successive levels. Otherwise, you may have a different histogram. Now, how do we interpret the pyramid of numbers? Now, the body of the size of organisms increases at each trophic level from the base to the apex of the pyramid as their numbers decreases. So, at each trophic level, much of the energy is lost in the respiration, and thus fewer organisms can be supported at the succeeding level. So, this is what we mean when we are saying that you have energy transfer. So from the energy taken from the sun by the plants between these two organisms, this is feeding on this consumer, producer. Some energy is lost in between those particular steps. So this actually we have loss in energy. However, the pyramid of numbers will not always progressively decrease in numbers of organisms from the primary producers to the highest consumer. So the reason for this is that sometimes you may have parasites present, so many parasites that are infesting a particular host. For example, you could have 20 ticks on only one cow. You can also have many caterpillars feeding on one cabbage. So in such cases, you are likely to end up what we refer to as an inverted pyramid. So if you have 20 cows, or 20 ticks, so if you count the number of ticks in a single cow, you may find around 20, and just one cow. So if you draw this, you realize that the cow is the host, that's the producer, and then you have a higher number of ticks. So essentially these are the ticks. Maybe the ticks are being fed on by a bird, which could be actually one bird. So if you look at the shape here, it is totally different. It is actually inverted. If you are looking at a cabbage, it's only one. Maybe it has 50 caterpillars on that. See that? So these are cases whereby the pyramid is no longer appearing in the conventional way, but we say it is actually inverted. It gives you a different perspective. Then pyramid of biomass is pyramid number 2, type of pyramid. Just like the previous case, it is a statistical representation of the total dry weight of organisms at each trophic level in a habitat. So the biomass refers to the total or constant dry weight of organisms making a given trophic level. It represents the mass of the tissue only without water. So if the dry weight of the organisms is given in an ecosystem can be obtained, then the mass can be used to actually draw an histogram, which we refer to as our pyramid of biomass. A pyramid of biomass will always show a decrease of producers from the highest consumer levels. So again, as I mentioned earlier, from one level to that one, we have loss of energy in the form of heat, mostly through respiration, excretion, defecation, and also ingestion. Understanding the energy flow in agriculture, it's very important in this case simply because we are able to decide on the kind of foods that we need to consume. That's why most of our staple foods are actually maize, beans, and the like. because the plant material is the basis of primary production. So plant material contains a higher amount of energy compared to the foods that we derive when we feed on animals, that's meat, cheese, and the like. So it will be more efficient in principle to eat the grass or plants, but again, there's a disadvantage in that we cannot digest cellulose just like animals. So when animals convert that, we are able to get more energy in form of proteins, fat, and then we can be able to digest that more efficiently. However, there are some plant materials, soybeans, that have a high protein content compared to the food products that you normally consume. So we are looking at a change towards vegetarianism, which would actually enable more food materials to produce, unlike raising animals. That brings us to the end of our session, but there is an activity to be undertaken by answering the last three questions actually. We give a reason why pyramid of biomass is more accurate compared to the energy flow of the ecosystem than the pyramid of numbers. Number 2, explain the progressive decrease in biomass as from one trophic level to the next. Lastly, explain why there are rarely more than 5 links in a food chain. That's the end of our session. Thank you so much.